Oh, hi, y'all. You know, the other day I was going to post on Twitter that I was flying from New York to Zurich in hopes that I would dupe people into believing I was going on to Geneva. But I'm not.
Wait, you're not. Psych.
As a matter of fact, I'm in Malaga, Spain, which is, by the way, people, open to everybody.
Wow.
I was practically the first American to come here.
Wow.
And now I'm on the Costa del Sol, and it's terrible. It's just awful. Don't come until I leave.
I imagine you can only have that nice thing if you are vaccinated. I'm guessing if you are vaccinated, you were able to get into that lovely place. Mm-hmm.
Funny you should mention it. And the way the procedure works is you have to show your vaccination card or a negative PCR test. That's the involved test.
Yep.
At the airport before they'll even check your bags.
Yep.
Then when you land in whatever your country is, you go through customs. They didn't blink at my passport. They wanted to see the vaccination card.
Yep.
They saw the vaccination card. They take down the information, and then away you go. You're in Europe.
See, you can have nice things again.
And then every country you visit, they get a barcode.
Yeah.
You can have nice things if you're vaccinated.
Yeah. Oh, Malcolm, why can't we do that here? They do it right everywhere in the EU and Israel. It just, we're the only place where basically, and Putin, by the way, as you know, in Russia, they just stoke all that COVID misinformation and anti-vaxxer stuff, right? I mean, it literally is Russia
fact.
And Republicans against Americans once again, right?
There's actually a backfiring happening with the Russians with regards to vaccinations. They have stoked out so much fake information worldwide about the efficacy and security of the vaccines. No one in Russia will take their Sputnik vaccine. And the Sputnik vaccine is about to be authorized by the European Union, where they had to explain how they synthesized it, what they used in there. Russians won't take it because they have a very low vaccination rate because they don't trust the Kremlin. And the Kremlin has been saying vaccines are bad every other place in the world.
Isn't it? And on a day of this summit, where Republicans, Fox News, you name it, Malcolm, they're actively rooting for Putin against Biden. I mean, this is some matchup to them whereby we just played Tom Cotton saying how pathetically weak Biden has been on Russia after we just had Putin's puppet in office for 4 years, right?
Absolutely amazing. And these are the guys, of all the people you wouldn't want to hear about being weak on anything, is Tom Cotton, right? Or Johnson or any of these other guys who went over to Moscow for the 4th of July. I think it was Kurt Eichenwald on Twitter just this morning was saying some of the comments that he received or that he saw going through QAnon and right-wing websites, they are in love with Russia. And they're saying very, out loud that Putin is a strong man. Russia is a great country. It's conservative, it's white, it's Christian. Hey, I agree. Move there. Leave.
Yeah.
We don't need you here in the United States. What with our diversity and all of our great economy and all the rest of that stuff once the idiot is out.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of the entire process that's going on here is that Putin always made it a power move to be like 30, 40 minutes late for Trump. And Trump would sit there like a little, begging puppy drooling at the mouth, hoping there's a cookie out there.
Yeah.
Biden pulled the power move. He was like an hour late. He made Putin wait for him.
Yeah.
And then when he showed up, he stared him right in the eyes. And you can see it on the video. The minute Biden looks in his eyes, Putin turns away and looks at the cameras and mugs to the cameras. He can't take it. It looked just like the Barack Obama, Vladimir Putin, I'm going to stomp you look.
Yeah.
And I think the Russians are starting to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so Williams said something for Malcolm. Mama, Representative Gosar, Paul Gosar, is using the very same talking point as Putin through Tucker Carlson about Ashley Babbitt being, executed, the terrorist, the Capitol terrorist. You said, which that's surely a coincidence, which, as we know, takes a lot of planning. I'm sure Malcolm won't have any thoughts on it at all. I mean, seriously, about the insurrectionists, the exact same talk. You have to guess whether it was Putin or Ron Johnson or Paul Gosar or some Republican in our country, using that these are peaceful protesters. They just had political concerns, yada, yada, right?
When this all comes out, when this whole thing shakes out here, it's going to be very clear that these people are the party of Moscow. And I think we need to really hang that around their necks.
Yeah.
They really listen to Moscow first.
Right.
Look, Mitch McConnell did not like it when he was called out as Moscow Mitch.
Yeah.
And all the rest of them need to be called out as the Kremlin crew or whatever you want to say about them. But Ashley Babbitt was an Air Force security policeman who guarded red circles around airplanes. And red circles on those Air Force bases, or the red lines that are outside the base, those are authorized for lethal force rings. You step inside that red circle, they can kill you.
Yeah.
Of all of the people who went into the Capitol that day, who should have known better to breach the last barricade, which would have allowed hundreds of those people to go in and start beating or killing Congress people? Ashley Babbitt. She knew it. She did it. She got the consequences of that.
Yeah.
So I have no sympathy. But of course, Moscow has sympathy for a woman that was leading an attack that could have killed could have decapitated the United States government. Don't forget, everyone in that building was all the government there was, other than Donald Trump. Had they all been killed, injured, or incapacitated, we would have been left with a monarch that night.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, Malcolm, what people keep saying is, do you know how close we came to this? When you look at all the machinations with the DOJ and elsewhere, how close we came to him pulling this off, to, overturning a United States election and our democracy being, gone. But
a dictatorship, establishing a dictatorship.
Yeah. Well, interesting how you just interpreted the first interaction between Putin and Biden, because, boy, they were talking a lot of smack and poking us with a stick up until this, right? With all his talk about the, Capitol insurrectionists and trying to poke Biden with a stick. But it's interesting. What do you think will come of? What are your predictions on what's going to happen today?
Well, the very fact that we have stability in government now, which means we have an all-of-government approach to dealing with Moscow, using diplomacy, using our allies. Look, President Zelensky from Ukraine is coming over and is getting a White House meeting first thing as soon as Joe Biden is out of there, which means Ukraine is essentially one step becoming a U.S. ally. And he may, in fact, expand NATO and make Ukraine a NATO nation, which would pit Russia directly with us, which means Putin would be trying more shenanigans, right? But I think what's happening here is the philosophy that I've been pushing for years now. Don't go after Putin personally. Go after his oligarch friends' money and make it clear every time you screw up, we're taking your money. We're going to start finding legal methodologies to seize your mega yachts. We're going to take down your executive jets that are flying your croissants from Marseille to Moscow every morning so that they arrive there warm from some French bakery. No, we're going to start seizing assets. And I think that Russia is starting to understand that. They are a very weak nation, which is why they're using hybrid warfare. They're using disinformation to literally create a body of Americans that no longer believe in America. And it's been wildly successful with their puppy in the office, right?
Yeah.
But, Hillary Clinton tried to warn us.
Yes.
Everything Hillary says is true. So we really should be paying attention to how Biden is going to take this, against Putin, but mainly because Biden is bringing all of our allies to bear on Putin now. So unified action. The Russians ate that. They had a guy who wanted to disband NATO. Oh, you're going to have to deal with NATO now. Maybe a couple of more countries will join. Yeah. Right on your border.
Yeah. So what's your take on Merrick Garland? Obviously, he said the right stuff yesterday on, that our number one threat, as we know, is white supremacist, right-wing violence here in America. His speech on voting rights certainly was good, but we got to bring the hammer down on these people. Is he going to bring the hammer down? I mean, this DOJ stuff is really, so who is it? Rosen? So his final Attorney General, Jeffrey Rosen, has been willing to reveal new details about the former president's last-minute efforts to remain in office despite his loss. He's in discussions with House Oversight to sit down for an interview about his communications. If there were more communications between them, Rosen could fill in additional detail about the full scope of Trump's efforts to get the department to help overturn the election. Just give me your take on Merrick Garland in general and what's happening with this DOJ spying, etc.
About a year and a half ago, I was in California at the Getty. No, not at the Getty. It was some other place. But I was on stage with Asha Rangappa, who, as you know, is ex-FBI officer. But they're all lawyers. I mean, everybody who was on stage was a lawyer, other than me. And one of the things that I said was, there is just too much chumminess between federal officers and these lawyers. And most of these lawyers, when they greet each other, and I've been in some green rooms where they all come together and one is conservative and one is liberal. And they start like, oh, which law school did you go to? Who was your professor? Who's your buddy? I think lawyers have a way of dealing with other lawyers that is really incestuous, so to speak. And what they do is they give each other benefit of the doubt that they didn't mean what they may have done.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I can almost hear the conversations after, Aaron Burr shot Alexander Hamilton, right? It's like, well, he did go to Yale and he did go, to this school, and maybe he didn't mean to put the bullet in his chest. Lawyers are like this. And I think Merrick Garland is an institutionalist the way Robert Mueller was an institutionalist.
Yes.
And we saw that the Republicans rely on their goodwill and the fact that they will protect the institution before they'll protect the country. They'll protect the chumminess of lawyers before they'll protect the people. Merrick Garland, this whole thing, I mean, I think he's about to find out that the IG is going to supersede a lot of his problems. Unless he was smart enough to say, well, I'm going to maintain the integrity of the institution, but I'll have the IG tear down everybody in the Trump administration. But you know what? This whole I will protect the Trump lawsuit, about him sexually harassing women as part of his job.
Yeah.
This is where external pressure is going to have to come from us.
Yeah.
Here's another problem we have as progressives and conservative rhinos, whatever you want to call yourself, Lincoln Project conservatives. We don't put pressure on these people the way the Republicans do. We don't. We just let them do it and go, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like Joe Manchin wanting to maintain the tradition that Mitch McConnell already blew up, the filibuster, right? I mean, it's just,
right.
It's like you say, you're to maintain our traditions or our institutions or our democracy. You're going to have to I love that you used a Hamilton reference. It doesn't matter who shot Aaron Burr because they were all,
No one else was in the room where it happened,
And by that, you mean in the green room where all the lawyers happen. But yes, I agree that someone said, I loved when he appointed Merrick Garland because karma, because he had the Supreme Court's, seat stolen from him. But, they said he may be better as a judge. He does not have bulldog instincts like our friend Glenn Kirshner or somebody, like that. And so I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's a quiet storm.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
see.
Yeah, Merrick Garland. Right. I mean, we will see. I think he's a good man. I just don't. But I just think we had Rob Reiner, our friend, on yesterday that said, I just don't. We cannot create this precedent. We cannot create this just training exercise for the next smarter autocrat. We have got to reestablish the rule of law in this country, don't we?
Yeah, and like I said, he's an institutionalist. He'll protect the Justice Department. I think I was on MSNBC where I said, we had, don't just listen to what an attorney general says, and say, oh, well, that was fine. We should have gotten that message when, when they covered up the statue of justice because its left breast or right breast was bare, and it's like, don't take these people at their word. They are susceptible to public pressure too.
Yeah.
Where are all these political groups? Republican political groups, they advocate all the time. They put millions of dollars behind their pressure operations. And we don't. Yeah. We just let things happen and hope Joe Biden will take care of it.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to pressure people into doing things that are right.
Yep. For instance, why isn't Ali Alexander in jail? He is the. Someone tweeted, "Stop the Steal" organizer Ali Alexander posted a video online promising to return to political activity here soon. Meeting on Twitter, Alexander's been mostly dormant since the insurrection, though he's threatened authorities and said he wouldn't have to testify without a 1-6 commission. And you just said this guy's arrest will be glorious. Well, where is he? Why isn't he arrested?
Because it's quite simple, but just, it's one of those, wait for it. Justice Department is working their way through all the losers at the bottom.
Yeah.
Ali Alexander's conspiracy charges are the things that you really have to wait for. You got to remember, he said that he did this with Paul Gosar. He said that he did it with 2 other congressmen. He organized the entire rally. But there was a meeting on the 5th, and that's where the real conspiracy would come in. I don't know if you noted, but Roger Stone said some naughty words at me a few months back, where he called me a word that was featured prominently in the TV show Deadwood, by a certain Chinese purveyor. And, I said, you were at this meeting. All of the players were at this meeting. The head of the Oath Keepers, the head of the Proud Boys, the head of the 3%. All of you were there. Those people are all at the edge of being arrested. So let the conspiracy charges move up. Because the guy that will bring Ali Alexander in is Stuart Rhodes, the head of the Oath Keepers, who is about to find that whole organization is going to be branded as a right-wing extremist group. And he himself said he's going to jail.